tell a movie reference and win the internet. Welcome everyone. We're still in Florianopolis in Brazil. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday, Michael told his story in light of the troubles that a fellow warrior is going through. A young man, 18, living at home and trying to break free. So you told your story, how you got away.
The point is, get the fuck out. Once you start disrespecting your parents in their house because you feel like you know better or you can do it better, go! Go.
Actually, I didn't tell anything about this, but I left at 16 because I saw also it was just coming like this, you know. And so for my protection, for their protection also, I actually went to, because I still had to go to school, I went to a boarding school for the last 2 years from 16 to 18 so I could be away from home.
Was that your choice or they
It was my choice.
put you in it?
No, it was my choice. Yeah, and I
well,
loved
they
it.
had to pay for it.
Yeah, yes. So I was not like...
It's not really the same as leaving.
No, that's why. That's why I didn't tell the story, you know, because I was cared for in a way, you know.
Yes.
And but I did see the importance of getting away from them, you know, and maybe later returning because it was not good for anyone, you know, and I had to leave it. Anyway, you left.
My story's better. My mom closed the door and said, "Don't you ever come back."
Well, maybe you had the privilege of having such a powerful woman, you know. So you went, got the car back. You left.
So I got my Firebird, I got my Night Rider,
Yes.
and we told that story, right? And then I got in. My dad said, "We're going on this
Right.
snowmobile trip with my brothers,
To Utah.
my uncles." He's like, "Come with us. Bring all your stuff just in case. And if you like it, you can stay." So I get off the plane. It's a whole new world. And, I go up and I go to my uncle's house, and it's, they're Mormon, and they're really, really, really kind of just traditional religious Mormon, and all the kids are younger than me, and they're really good kids. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know, because I'm thinking senior year, I want to have fun, I want to go out, I want to party and date girls, all this stuff, but like, they're Mormon and they've never had I'm a few years older, at least 1 year older, maybe I think 2 years older than
How old are you
oldest.
now?
I'm old.
At that point.
Okay. 17. I was 17. Maybe I just had my 18th birthday by that point.
You're still making your meals?
It's December.
Still cooking your meals?
Cooking my meals.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I'm just going back at you saying, okay, you were provided for also. It's just a different family.
Man, the meals were terrible. We got like a slice of bread and some water. No, but the meals were terrible. Everyone in that family will tell you the cooking was terrible.
The water in the bread, because otherwise it's too stale and too hard to eat it.
Yeah, well, they didn't have much money, and my dad was sending them some money, and that was part of the deal. So like they were, somewhat obligated to take care of me, but they were family. I could tell they cared, and I start senior year of high school out in Bear River, Utah. It's snow, it's mountains and bears and the Wild West, and I'm excited. And on a Sunday, we go to church. I was not really doing much church back home for the last 3 years prior, since my dad left. But I go to church, and then on Monday morning, I go into homeroom, your first class of the day. And it was really strange. Everyone's talking about what happened in church yesterday. I'm like, wow, like they all go to the same church, the same churches, and they're all Mormon, almost all of them. And it was a very different feeling. It felt like family. It felt like, back east where I was, there was maybe 5 Mormons in the entire school. It was a much bigger high school, and I never felt like I belonged. I was always an outsider, didn't have didn't really have friends there. And so all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is, kind of cool. Like I wasn't that into the whole, the whole church thing, but
there were girls there.
There were pretty girls there for sure. But it was a feeling of welcome that I wasn't used to. Even the teacher said something about church the previous day. It's just weird. So then, first day of lunch. Now I was a complete nobody in my high school before back east. I would take lunch on my own. I wouldn't sit at a table or whatever. I really didn't have, outside of school, guys in the area, we would run wild. We all had our dirt bikes and motorcycles, and every day we tore up the place, and we had good friends. But then when we went to school, everyone was in their own clique, and I didn't really have I was independent, I guess. But I was a loner. Loser. No, anyway, so...
Independent.
I had already claimed my independence.
By choice, yeah, yes. Not your choice.
Yes. And, I really wasn't dating back home. Maybe I'd gone out with a couple girls just very briefly, but so first day of school, it's lunchtime, and I buy lunch at the hot lunch tray at the thing, and I sit down at an empty table. Sit down, next thing I know, the head cheerleader has come over, she's sitting directly across from me, followed by the entire female cheerleading squad. And they all want to meet the new kid from the East Coast. And I'm like, whoa. And this was my first really clear experience of how quickly you can transform your life, also your identity and how you're known, by completely transforming your environment. They say, oh, well, if you go somewhere else to start something new, you're just trying to run from who you are, and you're going to bring yourself with you, and you're just running or whatever. There can be some truth in that, but there's something really powerful about transforming your environment, And so, in no time I had a cool new group of friends, and, my whole life changed, but I didn't have wheels. And my uncle, he gave me this tiny fluorescent green truck, like a Subaru or something, just tiny. It was the most, I had wheels, but it was not a cool vehicle, And so spring break's coming up. I'm like, man, I gotta fucking go back for my ride, And I'd been working, every day after school. I was washing dishes just in some restaurant, which, it's a low paying job, but I felt like, I'm out on my own. I'm living with my uncle, and I'm making my own way, and they didn't have money to give me, so I take my money and I go, I don't even remember this part, but I must have flown back across, back east. I would not have even talked to my mom or seen my siblings because I was probably still at war with my mom on some level.
The car was at your friend's place, no?
The car was at my dad's or someplace, I don't know where it was, in some lot or something. And, and I went back, and, I met my dad, and I told my dad, I'm going to drive the car out. And he's like, Michael, I really don't think it's a good idea. And I think he said, I prayed about it, and I don't think it's a good idea. And I was like, well, sorry, Dad, but I got to do it, So I take off in my black Pontiac Firebird. It's senior year, and I got the T-top down, and so the wind blowing in my, my long blonde hair. I got my, the radio doesn't work, but I got a boombox. It's the 80s, man. It's 89. It's the beginning of 89. So I got a boombox with a couple of batteries, and I got an audio cassette tape with only 2 songs on it. And it was, Joan Jett, covering an AC/DC song, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And, what's the name of that other band? Because of an R, it's not the Rolling Stones, but it's, Aerosmith. And, it was a song about coming in the back door. I don't know. But, I would listen to those songs, on my boombox, and then I'd rewind and play it again. And that was my radio for the whole trip. So I get out of Western Maryland, and I'm cruising through maybe Ohio, which is the next state over, and I'm just, I'm just flying down the freeway, and girls passing girls in cars and whatever, and I'm just a free man, and it just hit me like in one of those next states. It's like, who says I have to go to Utah? You know what I mean? I was like, I'm free. I could get a job anywhere. I got some money. I've been working. I got my car. It was this amazing feeling of freedom. But I kept on going. I'd pull over on the side of the road to sleep at night. And this was the beginning of, I had many experiences of this at this point in time and then through my 20s. But, tap, 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 middle of the night, and it's a cop, He's like, yeah, what's going on here? What are you doing? Sleeping, harassed by the cops. Anyway, I make it to...
Are you allowed to do this in the States? You're allowed, no?
Yeah.
It's not illegal or...
There might be some places where you're not supposed to be sleeping, on the side of the road. But, so I make it all the way back, and I think first day, so I come pulling in to school, with my new ride, looking cool, and I don't know, first or second day, I go out to check on my car, and I think it was the first day, and there's footprints on my car from the front of someone just walked in their dirty feet all across my car. I didn't know who did it, but I remember smiling. It's like, yeah, someone's jealous. And meanwhile, with my aunt, and my aunt, she's pretty dominant female. She was the dominant force in that house. And there were two things happen coming towards the end of the school year there. One is I started being accused of things I didn't do, which was my real complaint back home in my mom's house. That was my biggest beef, Yeah, I caused trouble, but don't blame me for something I didn't do and then be convinced that I did it when I know I didn't do it. That was the one thing. And the second one, what was the second one? Oh, so I'm walking up the stairs one day and I can hear they're talking about my mom, Okay, I got my complaints about my mom, but don't be talking about my mom. And that was, yeah, so the two of those together, and I just was like, I'm out of here. And I took off in my car. So this is the beginning of tolerate nothing, right? For me anyway. And at this point, I got my wheels. I don't need to stay and put up with shit, So I take off and I go, the last 2 weeks of high school, I'm living with my grandfather. I've told stories about my grandfather, but he's over an hour south, maybe an hour and a half south. So now I'm driving an hour and a half into school every day, an hour and a half back. I'm doing time after school every day because for every hour you miss from school, you got to make up with an hour after class. You miss one day, you got 8 school days with an hour after class. Anyway, I'm not going to graduate because I got too many hours to make up. Somehow they let me pass, and then graduation day comes. I show up, I got no family there. I think I might have had 2 cousins in the stands. It was outdoor, ceremony, but they weren't there for me. And see what I want to tell here. The very next day, I attended my oldest cousin Travis's wedding, and then I went straight home. I grabbed a loaf of my grandma's homemade bread, a jug of water, and I took off in my Firebird. Like, I'm going to the beach.
To the beach from Salt Lake, from
Utah, yeah, Ocean City, Maryland. Clint, if Clint is watching, he knows Ocean City. So
you went back east.
Yes.
It seems like the ocean is closer.
The closer ocean is California, but the ocean everyone's going to back home is Ocean City in Delaware or Maryland, right there. And so it's like beach or bust, and I got like barely enough money for gas to make it.
How long does that take? That takes.
It took me, in this particular case, 8 days, and I'll tell you why. So I take off, I cross into Wyoming, and I get a flat tire. And I pull into it's like a Saturday morning or I don't know, something, Sunday. Anyway, I pull into a service station, and they say, okay, go in or whatever. I come out and they say, sir, looks like you got more problems than that. Look, your spring, that's like your suspension is it's up where it's not supposed to be. And I just use my logical brain. Like a spring is like, it's got this kind of action, but it was like they had moved it from being lower down to like somewhere higher up, and I was like, that's impossible. These motherfuckers fucking put it there, and they're trying to charge me extra. So I was like, dude, put the thing, and I said, man, put it back where it goes. And they did. This is, I look back on myself as a teenager, and I think like naive Mormon kid, shy, whatever. But I kind of but like now I'm a bit older, and I'm looking back, and I was like, I had some amount of balls. I wasn't just totally, because I remember for the longest time, into my 20s and so on, I just wanted to move so far away from the kid that I was to be in something totally, powerful and different. But, all right, anyway, I blow money there on a tire, and now, like, money's running short. I got money for, like, one more tank of gas, and I fill it up, and I go. And I start having problems, like, with the same problems my mom had in the car that led to it going off to that shop for a few years. It's an electrical problem, so it's just stopping on me in the middle of the highway, and I got to pull over. I dealt with the cops for 8 straight days. They're constantly pulling over. Yeah, what seems to be the problem here, And long story short, I had no way to. I ran out of money halfway home, and so I was stealing gas and food to get home to the beach. I'm not proud of it, but so like I'd roll into a gas station, and I would put the thing in the tank, and I would pump the gas. I'd worked at a gas station before. I'd worked several jobs, so I knew how it worked. I knew that as soon as I hang up the pump, it's going to start beeping, and they'll look out the window to see who it is that needs to come and pay. So I go into the store, put some things in my jacket or whatever to eat, because I don't got no food. And then walk out, and maybe I'm going to go back and hang up the pump and then come back in and pay. But I'll just put the pump on the ground, or I'd put it back on the thing, but like not in a way that's going to make the thing beep. And just kind of like make sure they're not looking, just pull off and just get the hell out of there. And I went straight to the beach. Man, the beach was amazing. I was also yeah, kind of exploring the limits of where are the moral, ethical boundaries as far as making money and surviving. Um, the end of the summer comes, and my dad's like, Mike, because I got accepted into I only applied to 2 universities when I was in high school, and it was probably at my dad's bidding. And they were both in Utah, University of Utah and BYU, both good schools. And my dad's like, Mike, I'm going out to Utah because he's moving to Utah, and he's driving a truck out there. He's like, I'm going. Do you want to come? And I remember that last day, I was working in a liquor store, and I kind of like had no place to sleep and stuff like this. And there was a hot girl at the liquor store who was working there, blonde, well endowed, and she's like, you can go home and crash in my bed because I was getting off before her. She's like, when I come home, I'll kick you out, but of course she has to say that, but it was that day I took off and I went. And I think I left my Firebird at the beach. I think my Firebird had completely just broken down. And I just left it to die there in Ocean City. And I don't remember how I got back, but my dad and I got in the U-Haul. And I remember I bought a Led Zeppelin CD, listened to that, all the way out to university. But yeah, the point of the story we were talking about yesterday was if you're 18, if you're starting to really butt heads with your parents, Clint says, senior week, yes. Did you go to OC, Clint? Clint is from Maryland there, so he knows about OC. So, yeah, I helped my dad drive his U-Haul out there, and then I went to the dorms in University of Utah. Oh man, it was great. Yeah, I could tell some more stories about standing up for yourself and tolerating nothing and all that, but yesterday we just wanted to share some of this because we got a young 18-year-old guy back in California who's at home, and he's disrespecting his dad and almost getting in fights with his dad, and we're like, look, man, go claim your freedom, take that anger you got, take not wanting to compromise, and don't blame your dad. It's his house, he's paying for shit, he makes the rules. Don't disrespect your dad. If you want to claim your power and tolerate nothing, go, right? Like he could tolerate nothing and get into a fight with his dad, but, more powerful to just go make your way on your own.
Jump and figure it out on the way down.
Yes. Story time over?
Yes. Maybe
Clint says,
you could tell part 3 tomorrow.
Clint says he ended up homeless and on the beach for a month. Yeah, that's more or less my story.
Maybe it's his story because he says, "Did you go out there?"
That's
yes, and then he says, "Ended up homeless on the beach for a month."
That's what I was assuming it was. I was saying that was more or less mine also. Clint, I got a job working at the they have like an amusement park right there on the beach. So I got 2 jobs when I got there. And, what I noticed was like the cool kids were like, they were the locals, they weren't tourists. So they were walking fast on the boardwalk, the cool kids, because they were like living there, So I moved in with this group of guys, and I got 2 jobs, and I got to walk fast, down the boardwalk. And the job I got at the amusement park was working in one of those booths where you people compete for a prize and you give them like a stuffed animal. So I can still remember. My job was basically like you see a couple walking by, a guy and a girl, and he's got maybe a little stuffed animal for her. My job was to give him shit. Like, hey, come over here and win your girlfriend a real prize. It's just funny thinking back about it because I think about myself at the time as being this shy kid, But I was doing that. I was totally taking the piss, And man, I was just a little scam artist at the time, and they're paying me minimum wage, and I was, I was hustling like half the cash for myself. And then at the bar, no, not the bar, at the liquor store where I worked, man, oh God, forgive me for this, but I would go in the freezer or the cooler, and I would, I would take some liquor bottles or whatever, and I would manage to put them in the trash with the cardboard boxes. Take out the trash, put it in the dumpster. After my shift, I would come back. I would pick up my bag of alcohol, bring it home, and for everyone to party with. But yeah, man, good times, good times. Ocean City.
Leave home, start your life of.
Clint says, I worked at that park for 2 days. Really? What were you doing? What were you doing at that park? Oh, man. I didn't have any real good friends at the beach either. Yeah.
All right.
Good old days.
More stories soon.